Superhero movie multiverse rules are too complex. Let's take a little read at this. The multiverse is a difficult concept to comprehend. It really is. It's not easily defined, and since nothing has been proven in the real world, superhero adaptations of the multiverse are based entirely on speculation. This often leads to feature films providing messy and unfinished explanations of the multiverse, with each franchise developing a different set of rules that make it hard for audiences to fully understand. Marvel Studios, Sony, and Disney, not Disney, DC Studios have all explored the multiverse in recent years. And though some have provided clear explanations as to what that entails, others have perhaps taken liberties that confuse the entire history of superhero cinema.
Hmm.
I would say because the last part they say it gives a clear explanation, and that's kind of what uh Marvel is doing. At least it's more clear to follow of what's going on rather than be confused by it. The only reason we're kind of crapping on Marvel a little bit about the whole multiverse thing is strictly cameos, but the way they're explaining it, we're able to still follow along. That's kind of how Marvel's doing it. It's just shitty
Yeah.
because of the
Um,
cameos.
we've only really had it really is only Marvel, but that's just because DC really hasn't really done a lot with it. This is the only multiversal movie, which was Flash.
Yeah.
And I feel like they didn't really utilize their concept of the multiverse that well, or at least like how the comics kind of explained it. They did kind of explain it in a sense where he was in the that time bubble he was in, and like in the Speed Force.
Yeah, yeah.
It's called it something. It's like something dome. It's like the two, like all the like the worlds and Earths, kind of like as a thing,
They
and
were
then
like
they're
colliding.
colliding and stuff. So like
Yeah.
in DC Comics, it was they kind of like explain it like that, where it's just like these different Earths and stuff.
I just feel like for Marvel, since they were able to have this long, basically, they've had more time to develop their story into going the route of the multiverse, right? Because we went through a whole bunch of phases, and now we're in the stage where just multiverse is a thing.
Mm.
So they were eventually going to get to that point, which is okay. That's okay for Marvel to do. But for DC, I felt like this movie was kind of just like thrown in there because everybody knows Flashpoint. That is a DC fan, that is just a comic book fan in general. They know the Flashpoint story and they know what to expect from a Flashpoint story. And for the Flashpoint Paradox, it was a really good film. So they thought maybe if we make our own Flashpoint movie, then this will probably get people to want to watch more DC stuff. DC hasn't had enough time to kind of transition into the multiverse stuff. I feel like they just threw that in there.
The thing is too is like on in Flash, it was like in Flashpoint, it was about him pretty much gathering a group of heroes to go against Thawne. And whereas in this one it was just Barry needing Barry to help him get back to his universe. It didn't really make a lot of sense, and the only reason they had a Supergirl there was just to have her
Die.
fight the same villain that Henry Cavill Superman fought. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
Zod really didn't really. I feel like he was underutilized, and like there was really no purpose to have him there.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, like in the Flashpoint story, Superman, once he first comes out, he's got his freedom. He did the same thing as Supergirl, fight all the guards that were like imprisoned him and whatnot. And in the end, he helps Barry stop Reverse Flash. Whereas in this one, see, I feel like because they didn't put a Reverse Flash, they needed some type of like villain for Supergirl to fight. Because also, you remember in Flashpoint, most of the Justice League are in there. Obviously, they have different roles than
Yeah.
they did, regularly. Like Aquaman was king of Atlantis, and you know, he ruled it like a military kind of in the same way with Wonder Woman with Themyscira. And then there was that like war between them, the
Between the two,
Amazons and
yeah, yeah.
the Atlanteans. So like there was a lot more like factors into play in the story, and they made sense for the universe they were in, and they even had their own like little personal side stories too as well. It's like it wasn't just focused on only Flash, and it made a good story
rather than kind of this one where honestly there for Barry there technically really was no villain besides Barry himself. He was his own villain, right? Which is this one right there. There was another name for him, Salvatore, or
seven. No, that was Dark Flash.
Dark Flash.
Yeah.
So this was Dark Flash, which is technically this guy. He just meets him while he's creating himself, basically. Mm-hmm. So there really was no antagonist for Barry to go up against until he basically created it himself. What are some villains that Flash actually goes up against besides Reverse Flash? Flash.
You got a lot of his good villains are usually speedsters.
Enemies.
It's got like Captain Cold, Captain Boomerang,
Eobard Thawne.
Well, yeah, that's the Flash or that's Reverse Flash.
Savitar,
yeah.
Which was Savitar.
I think there was one called Bloodwork. I think.
There's Black Flash, Gorilla Grodd, Captain Cold.
Grodd, yeah, Grodd's pretty much like the Lex Luthor of Flash.
Yeah, that would have been dope to go against. So here is the stuff that the villains that Flash could have went up against: Killer Frost, the Rival, Dark Alchemy, Blacksmith Top, Handle Savage, King Shark. King Shark would have kind of worked. It would have been a little lame. Because we have King Shark and Suicide Squad. Black Flash. Is that what he kind of went up against?
Nah.
I mean, there's no Dark Flash here.
It's like kind of because Dark Flash starts as like a normal speedster, and then he gets taken by the Speed Force, and then he's like deformed and everything, and not really deformed, but like he looks like death pretty much.
Right.
So it's kind of like the same thing, but I don't know. It's just weird.
This is Eobard Thawne.
Yes, the Reverse Flash. Grodd has some good conflict with Barry. They could have used different speedsters though. Like they didn't. That's the thing. Savitar would have been a good one.
I thought that's who they used.
Nah.
Okay? Hold on. Dark Flash. Black Flash. Oh, flashback, backflash, slow lightning.
He's a made-up character, though, as far as I know.
They made up a character for the fucking Flash movie?
Pretty much. They didn't confirm, like, in the movie that his name was Dark Flash or anything like that. It's just that, like, for merchandise and stuff, like, if you, like, the toys or Funko Pops that they sell, they name it Dark Flash.
So they name it Dark Flash, but then it ends up just being a made-up DC character, but just a made-up antagonist for Flash to go up against.
Mm-hmm.
What in tarnation?
And then young Barry is just Barry Allen.
He's just Barry Allen.
Yeah, and then obviously the real.
But then
Barry,
the Dark Flash, future young Barry Allen, that was him.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. See, look, read the title right there. Superhero movie Multiverse rules are too complex. That right there, it's getting too complicated for us to understand the Flash movie. Maybe somebody will dumb it down for us.
The multiverse, like we were talking about earlier, it's definitely been more of like a Marvel thing lately. Obviously, because again, DC only had one project, and it wasn't. I feel like it wasn't executed. Oh, well, actually, no. Okay, I feel like it was executed a little better. There was a lot of plot holes and inconsistencies, but I feel like it was probably discussed a little better. But Marvel has that problem too with the plot holes and things. Like we talked about before. Loki probably handles it the best. Multiverse of Madness They had good explanations for it as well. The one thing I didn't really agree with was the whole I think it was something that America Chavez said. She said about what you dream is another universe or something like that.
Oh, so like you'll see a different reality if you're asleep, basically.
Yeah, so it's like kind of like you're peering into another universe. I feel like that's
A
kind of
little
weird.
weird.
It's very inconsistent because then you could just go to sleep and then when you dream with that knowledge that you have of the multiverse, then you're like, oh, okay, well this is another universe. I'm gonna fucking go there.
Doesn't that kind of apply to dream walking a little bit? Because
Yeah,
remember what Wanda was doing? She was dream walking, so she was going to sleep. She dreamed about her sons in a certain reality, and that ended
right.
up she ended up going to that reality. So maybe that was like America was explaining that, and then for the visual example, that was what Wanda was doing. Was doing what America
Yeah,
was kind of doing, or was kind of
yeah.
telling. That
Like I guess that was just probably explained for that. It was kind of like a foreshadow.
Oh, we just figured it out. 2002's The Flash featured Ezra Miller's Barry Allen journeying through time to save his mother, but ending up in an alternate reality where Michael Keaton was still Batman and Superman had been replaced by Sasha Cal's Supergirl. The rules of Barry's universe hopping adventure weren't properly explained in The Flash. Even after Keaton's Batman provided the rough concept, I still feel like it was a very simple and easy concept. The spaghetti thing, that was the simplest you're ever going to explain multiverses. Particularly since Flash was only meant to travel through time, but ended up creating an entirely new reality and threatening the stability of the multiverse. During the Flash's ending, several past DC actors, alive and dead, make cameo appearances as universes begin to collide, confirming that every live-action adaptation of the past 70 years had been taken place in DC's multiverse, which I still to this day, and it's probably going to be known as the worst type of cameo fest we've gotten. Because with Marvel, because we can only use Marvel as a freaking example because they've had time to develop a story to lead into the multiverse. Every time a cameo pops out from Marvel, everybody's clapping, everybody's cheering, everybody's going crazy. But when DC did it,
It's
and
all
they
like in the
only
moment though.
yeah, it was all like in the moment. It was just very underwhelming for it to happen. And it was just kind of like you got $300 million budget for this movie, and it was just really weak, man. Like, what did they
My
do with that $300?
see
300 million.
my thing is with like the cameos and stuff.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, I feel like for timeline purposes, like if they're time traveling, then it makes more sense than it just being universal and you pulling these people out from the fucking past for nostalgia for a nostalgia factor.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's time travel and it's set in the same universe, I feel like the cameos make more sense.
Mm.
I get that technically, say like say like Keaton's Batman is technically in a different universe. Uh, Christopher Reeve Superman technically in a different universe. So when it comes to the multiverse, these universes obviously exist.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need them to for the purpose of the movie?
No.
No, because if they have no purpose, they shouldn't be in the movie. If they're just there for like a quick peek for everybody to be like, oh, for like claps and shit, like the Nicolas Cage Superman thing, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like he could have actually been used. I feel like to kind of redeem that old script that was scrapped by DC.
The Tim Burton one.
Right. Instead of just having like a little sneak peek at what could have been.
What could have been?
I
Yeah.
guess I thought it was. I guess I thought it was a nice taste, but like it was just unnecessary. Just like the Christopher Reeve Superman showing up and the
Yeah.
and all the other little cameos. It was just kind of
Yeah. And the fact that, oh, to piggyback off of the Nicolas Cage one, the fact that it wasn't even actually Nicolas Cage. So it's
yeah.
not like he actually got into the suit and was able to at least be in the suit. It was just it was just computer generated, which really did suck. for Nicolas Cage, or at least he probably doesn't even freaking care.
And I think the same thing for No Way Home. Like, and you know what's a good example is the Spider-Verse movies, Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. They did not pull Toby, Andrew, they did not pull Tom Holland Spider-Man into these movies in whatever form, live action or cartoon.
Now, a word from our sponsors. This video is brought to you by CPR Ninjas. If you live in the Central Florida area, then this is a place for you to get CPR certified. At CPR Ninjas, their passion is to provide you with knowledge and skills needed to perform high-quality CPR with accuracy and precision. Javon and Lysandra Washington have been working in the healthcare industry since the mid-1990s and share 35 plus years combined in healthcare.
Javon and Lysandra are both registered nurses with diverse backgrounds, which include home care, hospital care, acute care, wound care, hospice care, pediatrics, research, and higher learning education. Together, they share a passion to reach the community, provide education that will save lives, and improve quality of life. As American Health Association instructors, they also share the same vision with the AHA to building a healthier tomorrow.
If you want to get started on a course today, go ahead and email Javon at cprninjas.com, or if you want to call, it's 813-603-6898. Now back to our video.